The secret of getting ahead is getting started. Quoted Mark Twain. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to all our participants from different time zones. I have got mixed emotions as I welcome you all to the third and last day of the International Webinar Series on Social Security and Legal Aspects in Disability Rehabilitation, organized and conducted by Sneha Sadan College of Special Education, Angamaly, in collaboration with Rehabilitation Council of India. Let's start the day with a prayer song. I invite Sister Rins and Sister Siji for leading us in the prayer.
They shall be showers of blessing. This is the promise of love. They shall be season refreshing. Send them the Savior above. Showers of blessing. Showers of blessing we need. Messages around us are falling, but for the showers we plead. Showers of blessing, showers of blessing we need. Messages around us are falling, but for the showers we plead. But for the showers we plead.
Thank you, sisters. Before we begin, allow me to remind all the participants to remain muted throughout the session and to keep your questions towards the end of each session. A Google evaluation form will be sent to you at the end of each session to be filled and sent back by the next session. We have two sessions scheduled for the day, one on legal rights of the persons with disability and another on psychological well-being of abused. Dear delegates, the speaker for our first session on legal rights of the persons with disability is Special Educator, Richland Onset, District of Columbia, South Carolina, USA. She has master's degrees in public administration and sociology and bachelor degrees in economics and special education specialized in intellectual disability. With over 10 years of experience, Ms. Srilada is a well-equipped teacher in handling all kinds of differently abled children in the American classroom. She is eligible to work in Florida, USA too. She also has the statement of eligibility for exceptional student education 1 through 12 and elementary education K through 6. She is an expert in designing IEPs, and with her integration techniques, she has successfully guided many children reach their best potential. Ms. Srilada is a member in School Improvement Council in the Special Education Department Chair. She is also certified for multi-categorical disabilities. We are extremely happy to have Ms. Srilada on board to enrich our participants with her knowledge and experience. Ma'am, welcome to the webinar. Are you there, ma'am?
Yes, I am.
Welcome to the webinar, ma'am. Nice to have you. You may take over the session, ma'am. You may take over the session.
All right. Thank you. And good morning, everybody. And,
good morning, ma'am.
And I know it is the third day of the session, and I hope you you are putting your energy from the morning, and I'm not going to keep you for a long with all the talking. I would love for you to be interactive so that we can make this session a little more interesting.
Sure, ma'am. Sure.
Let me share my screen. Are you able to see my screen?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, thank you. All right, so today's topic, which I would like to share with you, is the legal rights. And I want you to be out, as we all are teachers and working in a field of in different educational setting. I would like you to take you to these two, connect these two, legal rights in an educational setting or legal rights and education setting. Because I believe like majority of the time we came across during our education or during our process of educating ourselves through the degrees or whatever we have, whatever the credentials we have, we've been learning about the acts and this is the law, this is passed in this year, and this is what it is. These are the major thing in happening for the area of disability. But what in my experience, what I learned is what I would like to share is the legal rights when we as teachers not applying that into an educational setting, it just remain as a right in papers. So when the student, whatever we are, whomever we are teaching, we are standing in front of those students who have the same rights with the other students sitting in the other classroom and who is studying in different schools around the country. So as teachers, it is our responsibility, at least partially, it is our responsibility to take that rights and make the students aware of the rights they have. And we need to respect and teach them how to respect each rights. So my during this session, what I'm trying to take you is these two, connecting these two, the legal rights and the education setting. This being said, like the educational, the human rights, we all know that which every individual is entitled to. That is for every individual, every human body is having the human rights. But the social values that are related to the persons with different disabilities have changed a lot from ancient days. They encounter problems in their everyday life, which stops them from participating in the society. And I do believe that a portion of that, the problem, we can solve as teachers. Little bit of problem. That's what I would like you to think about. How can we have many problems or challenges in our daily life when working with the students with different abilities. So we know better than anybody else what they need and what we want them to achieve. So most they say they encounter problems, whatever they have it in everyday life, we are a part of their life. That is also, the schools are called as second home, because 8 hours they are with us. So we can help them to overcome some of the challenges they have in their early life, in their early, or depends on what age group you teach. And they are often exposed to denial of education, employment, and recognition. And I hope all teachers do agree with me that many of the privileges, many of the rights which the general population is getting, our students are not getting. They need to be exposed in the same way, because they do have the right for the same education, employment, and recognition based on their ability. The government is required to promote the necessary conditions that are required for the full employment of those individuals. Government is a part where they put the legislation in place, they pass the laws, but even though they pass the laws, unless and until we don't try to implement that in the basic level of the student that is in schools, it may not take them to have that right in form, in action. So as we all know, like you may be here, you might have hearing this all acts for the last 2 days. So we all know at this point that every child between the age of 6 and 18 years with disabilities will be provided with free education. Then the disabilities has been increased. The number of disabilities has been increased from 7 to 21 in accordance with the UN Convention of Rights. This, you might have heard about this yesterday in detail. This is the UNCRPD Act. And it clarifies and qualifies how all categories of rights with the persons of disabilities, and identify areas where adaptations have to be made for persons with disabilities effectively exercise their right, and areas where there have been violated and where protection of rights might have been reinforced. So here, I want you to look at the word adaptation. Where these adaptations coming from? It is from us. Basically, it is from us, because we know the students what adaptations they need in order to have success in their education, or in the educational setting. We know them more than, sometimes more than their parents. We know what adaptations would work effectively to exercise their rights. So when we think about each student, we know, okay, this one for work for student A, but that same adaptation won't work for student B. So we are the people who can help the students to effectively exercise their rights. So if we be quiet, then if we don't do what we supposed to do, then their rights cannot be effectively used for their benefit. And this, some of the acts in action, these are all acts you might have, I just put the acts there. I'm not going to be explaining these acts, because you may be getting bored with the same acts over and over, hearing the same thing over and over. So these are the some, is it the PWD Act, then the UNCRPD Act, then Rehabilitation Council of India Act, and the other National Trust for Welfare of Persons with Disability, that is Cerebral Palsy, Mental Retardation, and Multiple Disabilities Act. These are some of the acts in action, and some of the these acts are work in progress. I would say, even though they passed many years back, that it is still working in progress related to the implementation part. And when you consider the US schools, these are the some of the laws or the acts. As a teacher, I need to be aware with, or whoever is interested in the laws around the world. These are the some of the laws which is effective in the US public school. That is the IDEA. One is the IDEA, the Individual with Disabilities Education Act. That is a statute that mandates free appropriate public education, and the least restrictive environment for students with disabilities eligible under IDEA. Here, this is the part where I, as a teacher, work mostly with, because this idea has lot of protocol, lot of things I should know. So when I came from India here many years back, first thing what I asked discuss with my colleagues, American colleagues, or the people whom I am around with, I asked them what I should not do with the students and what I should do with the students. Because I know as we came here, we don't know all these acts. I was totally not ignorant about these acts. I learned it in the B.Ed sessions through the papers, but we don't retain the information when just we read the papers in the paper form, but nothing that carried forward in my brain when I came here. But as a teacher, once I enter into the classroom, I realized that I'm handling the students with many rights, and I am handling something legal here. So what I do here matters, and what I do with the students make a big difference, because I need to make them aware of their rights, and I need to respect their rights, and also I need to make them aware that all the students in the entire school have the same right like them. And that was a process for me, because I can say that it took years for me to really understand what, as a teacher, which all parts I should know about this act. Because when an act is passed, there are many things when we read it, the terms, the legal terms are very complicated for us as a common man's viewpoint I'm talking about. And many, we don't know in detail to break up, to unravel the legal terms. So what we know is, okay, this is what it means. And when I'm talking with the students, this is the way I should convey to the students' level. So in order to put me to deliver that one to the student, I need to know some. I need to know some basics or acts or laws or rights of the students through the idea, through this act. And this is where the IEP coming from. The IEPs are based on the idea. So whatever I do on the IEPs are legal. If I don't follow the IEP in the classroom or wherever the student, whichever teachers is handling the student, I need to provide a copy of the IEP. Because if that teacher is not following the IEP as this student's teacher, it come back to me, because I am the special ed teacher. So that, so whatever, if we make some errors or in the IEP, following the IEP, the parents can question us. The parents can take us to the court, because it is a legal document. And when I heard that one in the first time, it scared me, really, because we don't do much legal work in India. because we just teach and go home. But when I came to know I need to be quite serious in the paperwork which I'm handling for the students, that gave me more awareness of the facts related to this act. And the second one is the section 504 of the Rehabilitation Act. I'm not going to, as I said, I'm not going to go in detail, but I'm going to talk about the implementation part, or the practical side, or the world of reality. That's what I'm going to share with. So here in 504, whoever is having a disability, and sometimes it doesn't comes under the IEP, but still the student needs some adaptations for the success of educational field or in the school, in the classroom, that student will be comes under 504. For example, the student, a diabetic student, and because of the diabetics, she needs to go to the nurse and take insulin for certain time, and she needs to be out from the classroom. And sometimes because of her health issues, she won't be, she may need some help regarding the time wise, and regarding sometimes the testing wise, some adaptations that student particularly may be in need. So in that case, even though the student doesn't have a IEP, she still, or he still will be covered under the section 504 and gets those adaptations. And the other one is the Americans with the Disability Act, ADA. This mostly connects with the students with the civil rights. They can have houses like others. They have the voting rights like others. So other than beyond, it takes beyond the classroom. When it becomes an adult, when started living like, independent living, then these acts are going to protect those students regarding their transportation, if they need help with, and regarding the transition to career thing. These are all these ADA will take care of. So all these, whatever the laws, that doesn't matter is it in India or in America, all of these laws have common language and were built upon one, and each plays a role in our rights and our responsibilities, and help us what we can do and what we can achieve. You are standing, as I said, we all are standing on the shoulders of giants. You don't need to be a giant, but you do need to know some history and your rights so that you can be the best advocate. So I do believe that when the students, when the students are in our classroom, we teach them advocacy skills, how to become a self-advocate, how to stand up for themselves, how to raise voice for if they want to have that right. So we need, even though we are not giants, we can work more productively with the students to make them giants. Giants, I meant not in shape, not in physical appearance, but I'm telling the strength-wise. When we know the right, when we have the knowledge, we become giants. And we know, okay, in order to, I need to fight for this. I need to sometimes, in order to get the right, I need to raise my voice. Then only I will be recognized. So we need to teach the students that they need to raise their voice just like the others. And we may need to support them in the school setting in the beginning years, mainly in the elementary school, like maybe up to 5th grade, 6th grade, and reduce the support. We have learned in in our special education, that fading, the art of fading. We fade the help. We gave them enough practice. We gave them guided practice, help them from outside. In the same way how we make them do the work on the paper, on the worksheet, or whatever the work we gave them, the same thing we can make them, like by fading, to make them understand the rights, about their rights. All right, so I talked about much what we do as teachers, what we should do as teachers. It is always necessitated that teachers should have a working knowledge of special education law. That's what I was talking about, the reality side. The whatever we should know. We may not be, we may, I don't believe that we need to know the entire special education law. We are not attorneys, we are not advocates, or we didn't study, we didn't pass through the LLBs. But we need to have a knowledge of working knowledge of special education law. And so we are the teachers, we sometimes may identify the students first and refer for evaluation. Okay, this student need to be referred for this. I see that one, this student has some symptoms of this, so we can get this student for evaluation, and we refer for the evaluation. And we need to know, before putting for evaluation or evaluation, we need to know the steps and what the child is need to undergo in order to receive these different services. Then the research has shown that most of the information that we obtain about the legal matters comes from other teachers or principals. So what research says, that whatever we studied in our B.Ed or in whatever related to our education, we don't retain anything. We literally, when comes for to work as teachers, we learn from our colleagues. Just like I shared, because when I came here, I just learned whatever the knowledge I have right now. It is not through the books. It is from my experience, because I ask. And when we come here, it is a totally different world. It is a different culture, different place. So we need to talk, we need to ask all the time, what do I need to do for this? What I do this, what I can do with this student. And in the same thing, what you all do, because each student is different. Each student is unique. Whichever class you are teaching, you may be teaching in resource, you may be a teacher in self-contained or the special schools. It doesn't matter, because each student is different. So for each, in order to teach in an efficient way, by using the resources, we need to talk with our colleagues. Okay, what did you do? When this student come, what did you do? What you suggest? And it is a trial and error method. We just try, and it doesn't work, that goes in an error. Then we try again. So it keep running. Each time we teach, we refine our knowledge, we refine our skill to teach the student in a better way. Then teachers report being poorly equipped to act in with the students, their profession and themselves, because they don't understand fully their legal obligations and rights. So if we don't have enough knowledge, working knowledge of the special ed law, we cannot teach the students with we are not fully equipped to teach the student. We may be able to teach the daily reading, ABCs, 1, 2, 3, 4, add, subtraction. But there is a world beyond that, beyond this classroom for the student. So we have some legal obligation to the student, not in paper. I'm not saying we don't have we don't have any legal custody or something, but we do have some obligation to the students, because they are sitting in our classroom facing us and saying that they have their right to learn. So we need to address those in our classroom. These are I just put it, the some principles which as teachers we need to know. Only this is the main 6 points which I need to know, or we need to know to teach here. So this is based on the idea. So this one, free appropriate education, their education is free. They need to have appropriate evaluation. The psychologists need to evaluate. We are not the people to evaluate them, because we are not fully equipped to evaluate them. We are the teachers who can teach using different resources or strategies based on the student's strength. And IEPs, framing IEPs is our job. We need to make individual plan for each student and setting their objectives, annual goals, and call for the meeting every year, every time to amend the IEP. And if the student meet the goal, we need to change the goal, and we need to, in order to change the goal, we need to call for the meeting each time. That is how it goes here. And whenever we call for the meeting, we will have the whole team, the student team. We call it as the IEP team. We will have the administration side, one person, the assistant principal in our school is the assistant principal. We have the special ed teacher. We have the general ed teachers who is teaching the student. And we have if the student is getting speech, the speech therapist will be there. And if we have any concerns about the evaluation, the school psychologist will be there in the meeting, and the parents, of course, invited for the meeting. So it is a complete team we dealing with and talking about the student, about all phases of the student in the school setting, in the educational setting. So we talk about, okay, these are the adaptations which we put it in the IEP. Something is not working. Can we change into this? Everybody agrees. We plan, we amend the IEP, we implement the IEP, and see how it goes. And this meeting, through this meeting, the members will decide, okay, the student can be mainstreamed for many subjects, or she can be completely inclusive setup. All these decisions will be taken in the IEP meeting. And least restrictive environment, that is where the inclusion comes, the mainstreaming comes, the total hours where the students will be in the general education class and in the special ed classes. Parent participation and the procedural safeguards. The parent will get a book. We send along with the meeting notice, notifying the parent we have this day meeting. We send the book talking about their rights, parents' rights. So we send, that is called the procedural safeguards. So they need to know what are their rights as a parent with a disability, the student of a disability student. So they can go through whatever they have doubt in it, that whole questions can be answered in that from the booklet. So they can raise saying that, okay, my child supposed to get this. And as a parent, they can revoke or accept the services. If they say in the meeting, I don't want special ed services, they can put it in the paper. I don't want my son or daughter to be in special ed. They have the right, they have the parent right to revoke or accept the services. This is just I put it in a Venn diagram that it is the IEP and the 504. just to make you more have a visual understanding, because it has some common aspect and it has completely more different aspects. And IEP is completely the child special education experience at school, but 504 is how a child will have access to learning at school. That is the main difference between these two. So, and they have some commonalities which comes in the middle, that's saying that require parent permission for school to evaluate the child. And they need serve to accommodate needs of child through education. That is the adaptations. So there are some commonalities and no cost to the parents because it is completely free. The idea says, and our law says, it is a complete free education. All right, so with this knowledge, we will be aware of the students' right and be an advocate for the children we teach or they teach. Or this way, children may receive the services they need and deserve. So the student may be in the coming slides, we talk about the services section, like, you know, what are the rights of the student to receive the service. We should teach the student about their rights and privileges. We already discussed that. Teach the students life skills, because we know there is another world beyond this classroom. That is their reality, where they need to stand completely on their own legs, with support, maybe parent support, and without support. They need to face the real world. So we are preparing our students to face the world. So in order for them to have that transition smoother from the protected environment to an unprotected world, we need to make them aware where they stand, how they can move forward. And that is the career skill, pre-career skill, all these things can help from the school to teach them how they can transition directly to go out of this building. What is the life looks like, the real world looks like when you don't have any support, teacher support or any other support. What you do, how you can succeed in the life. So we need to teach the life skills. But in order to teach the life skill, we need to know the students' right, because again, it goes back to the right, because they have the right to employment based on their ability. Whatever they can do, they need to get a job just like the others, because we know other than our special ed students, there are other population who couldn't pass high school. There are many students who fail, and they go for jobs which they can do. They get the job, and in the same way, our students, whatever their abilities, whatever they achieved already in their life, based on that, they need to have an employment too. So we need to teach them that right, and we need to teach them how to be successful in that. They need to know how to apply job interviews. Even though it is small job, they need to attend the interview. So we need to make them equipped for that. So we play a major role. Teach them how to be a self-advocate. That is a long process, because I teach the students on 6th, 7th, and 8th. I teach in middle school. So the self-advocacy skill, we start at in 6th grade. The people come from the district, not in the school, from the school. The people come from the district and from the state department. They visit and teach them the skills need to be which help them to have self-advocacy skills. And I will show that later in my I have something like we do in our school, so I can share that one in later after a few minutes. Okay, so we talk about the different the laws or the acts in action. So here, what I want to share is, this is just a scenario I want to share, because I'm here, if we I'm trying to show that if we don't have the knowledge, much knowledge on special ed laws, we cannot provide the services much. So I'm putting some scenarios here, and some scenarios you need to respond. This one is basically based on, so I will read the scenario. So Barriet is a 7th grader who has hearing loss and uses cochlear implants. Even with his cochlear implants, Barrett cannot hear everything and uses lip reading and educated guesses through observations to fill in the gaps of speech he does not hear. Barrett's IEP provided for an FM amplification system, copies of written notes, obstruction-free seating, and other communication-related accommodation. Accommodation means the adaptations. The word we use here is accommodation. In addition, Barrett requested communication access real-time translation called CART, a real-time transcription service that displays words on a screen as they are spoken. Because as he is not able to hear what whoever is speaking, it comes on the screen. That is what CART means. Because Barrett did very well in school, the IEP team denied his request. Does Barrett have a right to CART services? I want you to think about the situation, the scenario. I want you to process and think about this scenario. So he is doing well in school. So based on his performance, the IEP team denied the CART request. Suppose this happened, because we are a part of the IEP. We are there as special ed teacher. So think about the members denied, the other members. So does Barrett have a right to CART services? Yes, because the American Disability Act, ADA, states that communications with students with disabilities should be as effective as communications with others. Why I put this here is, if I don't know this working knowledge of this act, I will be quiet, agreeing by denying the request of the student, because I don't know. But if I am a knowledge, if I have the working knowledge of this act, I am going to tell in the meeting that no, this student requested this, he has the right to get this. So the IEP team cannot deny this. So why I'm saying this is only because the ignorance of the teacher, the special ed teacher, the student will be denied to have this service, which actually he needs, because he needs the same communication, effective communication like others, because he has a hearing problem. So here, that working basic knowledge of the special ed law matters. So another thing which we need to know is like, what are the, wherever we work, what are those basic rules? For example, here, if the student is absent consecutively for 3 days, as a teacher, I need to notify. I need to notify 3-4 people in the building, letting them know that this particular student is absent 3 days consecutively. We don't know why. But I need to report because that is what I should do. So I need to notify the attendance, whoever is attendance in charge, then social worker and the school counselor. And what they do, once I inform them, the social worker will visit the student and ask about what are the issues there. And they, if not with the genuine reason, if they don't have any paperwork for the student, the parent need to go to the court. You know why? Because idea says that no child left behind. The student supposed to be in school. The parents are in custody of the student, so the parent need to go to the court for truancy protocols. So it started from where? From who? From me. And why I was able to do it? Because I know the working law, working special ed laws. Not in detail, but I know this I need to do. So the student may not be this because of the student issue. It may be because of the parent issue. The student is not coming to school. So the parent is responsible to answer that to the court. That is the protocol. Then we call for a meeting, IEP meeting, and discuss. Okay, he missed 10 days or 12 days, 15 days of total of half of the year. What we should do? And we need to provide the special ed services for the student, whatever he missed. So it is a long process, and there are homebound services. If the student is medically and not able to come to school, the teacher need to go home and teach, because no child left behind. Idea, the act. And the student, the home-based services. The student is out for, the student, think about the student brought a gun to school. Maybe because of ignorance, or did something very serious behavioral issues in the problem in the school. He will be suspended from school. If he is suspended, he needs to get the special ed services. So the teacher needs to go home. And because of the COVID situation, now everything online. But I'm saying other situations, the teacher need to go home and teach. Then compensatory services. If the student is not, think about a resource student, moved from one school and coming to our school, and the parent did not let the people know in the school that the student has an IEP or student is a resource student. What happened? He started missing all the special ed services, the resource hours. Then after 3 months or 4 months, the parent come, or somebody, we came to know that the student has an IEP. It's a special ed student. All the hours he missed during these 4 months, we need to provide as after the school. That is called compensatory services. That is under IDEA. This is a working law. Law in action, act in action. So this matters. When as a teacher, I should know all these. So wherever you work, is it in resource, in a general setting, or is it in a special school, you need to know, okay, what are the laws I should know to help the student to take some actions, help the others to take some action. Now, this is an interesting scenario. Aries, a 4th grade student with a learning disability and a physical disability, uses a service animal trained to remind her to take her medicine. So usually it is service dogs. The dogs remind it is trained to remind the student that it is the medicine time. Aries has an IEP and her service animal is not a part of her IEP. However, Aries IEP includes a detailed plan to ensure that the staff is prepared to remind her to take her medications on time throughout the school day. Aries brings her service animal to school. The school administrators deny her service animal access because the disability-related task performed by the service dog is fulfilled by the school staff. Did the school administrators violate any laws or violate any right? So he wants to bring the service animal to school, and administrator said no, because the duties, whatever the job the service dog does, is done by the school staff. But the student asked for the dog to bring it to school. So did that school administrators violate any laws? This is the second scenario, and it happens here. The service dogs are trained so well in order to help the students with disabilities. Yes, the ADA says that he can have the service animal access. So that comes under ADA, that comes under Act, that comes under the civil rights. That is a helping dog. So if it doesn't have, if that dog mess up the school, that is a different case. But the service dogs doesn't mess up the school. It is so trained. So ADA, based on the Act, American Act, the school administrator violated the law. So we need to come in front to protect, to get that service for the student. Next one is, I want you to put it in the chat box. It is time for you to respond. So get ready, teachers. This is your turn. My turn is over. So now your turn to respond. A 7th grade student who has an IEP enrolled in public school in India. He knows only English. Would we be able to accommodate him to pass 10th, 12th grade from the same school? If not, are we violating the laws or rights? What are the options for language omission or exemption? I want you to put your thinking in the chat box. Please put there are 2 questions. First one is yes or no. If we are not able to accommodate that student in a government school or whichever the school, are we violating his rights? Or the second question, what are the options for language omission or exemption? Please put it in the chat box.
All our delegates who are working as special educators, please respond. You may also type your answer in the chat box, or you can simply unmute and tell your answer. Dear delegates, please respond. The question is on screen. All our special educators. Yeah, there is an answer in the chat box, ma'am. Are you able to see
I
it?
see it. And what is the answer for what do you think about the second question? What are the options for language exemption for this particular student because he knows only English and he's a 7th grade student? I see the yeses for the first question, and I would like to see the answer, some thoughts on the second question too. What are the options for language exemption? Does he needs to take regional language, Malayalam or Tamil or whichever place it is, regional language and Hindi. I know that Hindi it comes under, and if he has to omit, what is the other options for him, or what are the options?
Dear delegates, there are 3 parts to the question. Please read the question and respond. Ma'am, there are many answers coming, but all the answers are for part 1. Yes, somebody has
yeah, I see it.
part 2.
Yeah, I see it. So does he needs an language omission or exception, teachers? Do you think he has to, because he's a 7th grader, and is it easy to teach the regional language or the national language of any other language other than English? So what are the things as a teacher, what you would do to help him? So English language, each class. So just by, he doesn't need to take any state test in any other languages. Subjects like he doesn't need to take the regional language or Hindi exams in 10th or 12th. Yeah, I see it. Subjects like music, home science, that's good. See that. We'll wait for 2 more minutes. Looking for more options. You teachers can cherish my knowledge too. What are the options? So you guys can help me out to know what are the options the student can opt out. Take language. Thank you for the teachers who are responding. I love that responses. He can be exempted from learning a second language and opt for the subjects like home science, data entry. Oh, thank you, Diana. Thank you. All right, I think everybody put the thoughts, I guess. All right, let's move on. Thank you, teachers, for responding. All right, now comes the right for universal designs. I know that we all know about this term is not new for us. The universal design is the design and composition of an environment so that it can be accessed, understood, and used to the greatest extent possible by all people regarding of their age, size, ability, or disability. So it is a right to access. The students have the right to access an environment or any building, product, or service in that environment. So we basically talk about the school environment. So each student has the right to access each part of the school. Wherever all other students go, the students with disabilities also have the right to access. So an environment should be designed to meet the needs of all people who wish to use it. This is not a special requirement for the benefit of only a minority of the population. It is a fundamental condition of good design. If an environment is accessible, usable, convenient, and a pleasure to use, everyone benefits. By considering the diverse needs and abilities of all throughout the design process, universal design creates products, services, and environment that meet people's needs. Simply put, universal design is a good design. So it is a right to access. We know the students with multiple disabilities sometimes denied access. So when we think about the universal design, that gives the access, the right for the students with disabilities to go freely move around. Now, something more to type it in the chat box, teachers. Universal design promotes students' right to access. Name some environmental barrier where we need universal design to access. Where we need, so name some environmental barriers where the students cannot access. Put some barriers, write those where the universal design is needed at this time. Think about your students or think about what you see around. Put it in the chat box. Name some environmental barriers where we need universal design to access. Come on, teachers. Think about the student in wheelchair. I can give you an example. Think about a student, you have a student in wheelchair. All right, the answers are coming up. Thank you, Sneha Sadan. Particularly in India, stairs, access to public transport, especially buses. Thank you. I'm talking about the India environment in India, yes. Yes, Sina Joseph, I see. Thank you. Mary Rinsey, make a barrier-free parks. Great, because our students need to enjoy in parks. Buildings, yes, of course. The student needs to be accessible in all across the building. Public toilet, of course, Amrita, I agree, totally agree. Public toilets, because the people, the student with physical disability who is in wheelchair have difficulty in accessing toilets, which is a primary right for every child or every person. Doesn't matter disability, has disability or not. That is a primary need. Sliding slope, street ramps, yes, steep ramps. Ramps for easy walking, yes. For entertainment like theaters, yes. They need to watch movies too, like others. Where we can take the accessible, the wheelchair accessible places. Yes, good, great answers. All right, let's move on. Abstraction, ramps, yes. Because we can't even think about things like, it is very difficult for the student who has a mindset of enjoyment and cannot move. Think about that student's emotional feeling, like that feeling. It hurts. It really hurts because the student cannot, that person cannot move freely by himself or herself and has a wheelchair, still cannot access. That's a very sad and bad situation. So we are talking about the right. Is this right in place everywhere? We look around. No. So as I said, laws passed long before, but implementation, even though it is still in progress, work in progress. So we we can think about what we can do. I know that there are many NGOs in place now these days. Then they are the people, the persons who doesn't have the students or who doesn't have the wheelchair, they are providing the wheelchair. But after getting the wheelchair, the next challenge is access the barrier-free environment. So one after another, barriers after barriers. Yes, ramps left. Yeah, that's right. Classrooms in ground floor, yes. Because if we don't have the lift, the student cannot go the upstairs classes. So more challenges for those students with the disabilities. So the rights are denied here. We are not able to provide those rights to our students. I just put it some example. It is the transportation, adapted material for entertainment lights. Yes, of course. Knobs with the grades. So new great ideas coming up, teachers. Yeah, nice to see those. So these are some, I just put it some example picture, more visual. All right. This is a real situation actually, but I want you to think about this. It's an orthopedic impairment, physical disability, disabled students in Chennai, because whom I know, not personally, through one of my friends. So it is a real experience, like, so I would that's why I thought of sharing this. So he is having he's a student and he is in wheelchair. Access barriers, environmental barrier. Think about this particular student is in your classroom. What do you think our role as a teacher? For two things, what do you think? Not in detail, but what is our role as his teacher? The information, and I will tell you in detail the story, but I just want you to put your thoughts in that before I discuss. What is your role or our role as his teacher? Just put one or two ideas, what you think. What you would do in your classroom, sitting in your classroom, okay? Accessible physical space. Here I am thinking not only as I'm not thinking more as a universal design, but more than that. We already talk about the universal design, what we can do about. More than that, okay, least restrictive environment, Amrita, okay. What is our role? What all things, what we can do as his teacher? You can think as he is in a resource class. He's a resource student, or you can think he's in a special school or any environment where you are in your setting. Commitment, yeah, of course. Free transport action, ramp, okay. Universal design. Accessible toilet, yes. Accessible toilet, classrooms, yes. Seating adjustment, of course. You need to have some spacing for sitting, yes. Adapted furniture, good lighting, yes. Yes, great thinking. All right. So, oops. And let me share the situation, this story, like not a story, but this particular student is automatic opening door. Yes, I love that. Disabled friendly toilet, another washroom. Yes, Ina. Yes, I agree. This particular student, he's a resource student. He is because he just need he has a physical disability. He has and he is very, I would say, learning process is very, he's good. He's a good student. He works well. He does all the work. He tries, and he gets some support from resource. So when this particular student is moved to one new school where he has to, first it was the access barrier. He cannot access the classroom. The classroom is in the second floor and there is only stairs. So this particular friend, my friend's friend, that is happened in Chennai. So she was calling me and asking my opinions, what I do, like those things. Emotional support, yes, Mary Rihanna, I see that. So she was calling me and asking what we can do, and we talk about what we can do, talk to the people, and they really, what they did is they really fought for the right of the student. They really they really work with, they had an NGO working closer to that area. They talked with them, then they took it to the school and they talked with the PTO and talked with the principal, administration, and they had a meeting. They talk about what they can do, and at the end of the story is he was he got the classroom changed to the ground floor. That is a big achievement because they agreed. After then, the problem is getting into the classroom, even though it is down floor, there are steps, like not a lot, 2 steps. So the parent, mom is working mom, dad is also working, but mom used to come in the morning. She used to drop this child and lift it up, take the wheelchair, and with the support of the student came to support. Okay, that students, with the help of the student, initial days, the mom used to go drop and put it in the classroom. Then the teacher, what the teacher did is, teacher talked with the student, because this is the first student in the school who comes in the wheelchair. So the teacher took her responsibility, it is her responsibility to sensitize the other students. And they talk as a class, what are the difficulties. He talked, even asked this particular student to talk about the difficulties he is facing in the school. And what the teacher said is that was a really good message for the other students. They listened to this. They were so good with him after he shared his difficulties. The 2-3 students volunteered to take him to the restroom. And initially, mom used to come in the afternoon break and take it to the restroom and taken the for the primary needs, whatever the needs, he has to use the toilet, whatever, he used to hold for all these needs till mom's come. Then the mom taken to the restroom, put it back in the classroom, and the students used to push the wheelchair wherever he has to go. And even later days, the students took him even to the grounds wherever they play. So I see an inclusion there, total inclusion there, because initially the students were hesitated. They didn't know. The students, children are children. They don't know unless they came to know what are the difficulties. They cannot think more like an adult, beyond. So when the student shared, when the teacher gave that opportunity for the student to share, and that entire classroom climate has been changed. It changed. And the students were so cooperative, and he's very friendly with all the students. He's a happy child. And that the teacher took her responsibility, and what all things she did for this particular student did a great matter in the entire school. And she did. What I'm saying is, even though when you look at this, it is just a student, an extra student coming to the class. No, she understood that what all things she has to do in the classroom for the physical climate. She did proper spacing, that students were adjusting with the space. There should be enough space to put the wheelchair and the movement, and where he keep the books. There is a special place for him to access, and the students used to take it to the library to check out the books. And they made it they were so helpful. But still, I'm saying, even though the student was taken to the library, the upper shelves are not reachable for the student. He cannot see what is there, what are the books kept there on the upper shelf in the library. So the librarian used to help him out, telling that these are all non-fiction, these are all fiction, these are adventurous stories, all these things. The librarian came and helped him to explore. So it is actually a teamwork, but it is initiated by us. That is where it started. Then we can take to the next level by level, and the student became completely in an inclusion setting. So this one, even though the right to access was denied in the beginning, it made it possible because of the teacher action, just by initiated by the teacher and supported. Everybody supported. So when we fight for a cause, people will be with us to fight along with us. And only what we as teachers can do this, because we know the student better, what he needs, and we can be transparent to the student. That makes the entire climate of the classroom change and became very a happy environment to learn for this particular student. And he never missed the classes. He's there in school every day. That shows that the happiness. All right, so this is just, I put it as I talk about inclusion. Inclusion is their right. Taking away from that classroom is not an option. Think about how can we include a child completely in a setting where he can look at the general population so that he can learn from them. Majority of the time, what I observed is in the special schools, wherever the student sits and look around, he sees students not like, there are problems everywhere around the student, but think about if he has taken in a general class. He knows, okay, this is the way everybody do. This is the way I should go also. I should follow them to work like this. There is a model in front of them. That is what inclusion helps. And inclusion is not a privilege. It is each student right. So we are talking about the legal right. So inclusion is a right for them to have access just like everybody else in the other classroom. This is the difference between equality and equity. The equity matters because we consider a student as a different student. Each student is different. And what we need to provide, equity, we can provide as a teacher. Not the same shoes fit for all. It should be different sizes. So it is the same policy here. Based on the student, we need to think, okay, what this child needs to have the same level of the other students. And we need to look for equity more than equality. Now we move on to the vocational rehabilitation services, the VR services. VR stands for vocational rehabilitation in special ed. So this is basically we all do, prepare for, find, and keep a job. That's what it's basically for. And we start the vocational rehabilitation services when they are in school because preparing them to get a job. So here we have the pre-employment services, job exploration and counseling. Students go for counseling to discuss the career options. And work-based learning experiences. In high school, they learn in middle school what are the job opportunities which they can explore in high school. That's what my students learning now. Because as I said, the people coming from district and the state, once in a from the district, they comes once in a month. From the state, they comes every day for these 3 months to explain about the different today the main thing, it was coincidence today actually for the Wednesday they came, the state, the person came from the state, they came to my classroom and they talk about the right of the disability student, the legal right. And I was so surprised because I was sharing with her that it's so coincidental that I need to talk about the same thing with this session. So she was sharing that one, and I will show you what she shared. After this slide, I will show you. So they were here in the work-based learning experience. They gave an insight to that workplace readiness training. They do the classroom or 101, how to prepare for a job and keep it, improving the social skills. They talk about how to interact each other in a workplace. And they have the sessions inside the classroom. The introduction to self-advocacy, that's what my person from the district coming to and talk about the self-advocacy skills, how to speak up. They give small situations, scenarios in the classroom, and they ask the situation, what you do, how to stand up for yourself. That is what they do majority of the time when they come to my classroom. Then benefits and counseling about the work incentive. They talk about how to get how much money you get, what are the benefits, insurance, all these they talk about in school itself. Physical care and support, correct or modify physical impairment if they need to be, if they are in wheelchair, how to modify that, what else support they need. Non-degree training, learning the job skills which there is no degree needed, look for those jobs and explain about those jobs. Rehabilitation technology services, it's all about technology now. So they talk about the training, computer access services, then mobility seating. These are all they talk about in the classrooms before they look for the job. They start from the middle school. Post-secondary training, that is after they complete the 12th grade, they go for that training. It's a real training at the workplace. Then I want to share that what this is, I don't want to put that video, but this is the story they shared in my classroom today, all the way to the top. And I don't know whether you are able to read that, the bottom. How one girl's fight for Americans with disabilities changed everything. This is what they read to the classroom. They didn't show the video, they came with the book. And when I asked them, can I have the copy? She said it is there in YouTube. So that's how I got the YouTube. And this is a girl who is in wheelchair and they denied access to the classroom. And she fought for even taken to the different phases of her life. And she, when ADA, that was not passed at that time, she is one of the reasons they passed the law, ADA. So she actually tried to got down from the wheelchair and tried to climb up the stairs. She said, even though it takes 1 or 2 days, I'm going to climb the stairs to show how difficult it is for me to climb, to have access. Because when the ADA, the act was taken to the legislatures, they denied the first time in the history here. And this girl showed that how much it is difficult for her to access the cafeteria where she eats lunch, the classroom, the toilets, and also the public places. And throughout, and see, she even have the support, disability rights now. They work with she and her parents work with the NGOs, with people outside. And she was called for a meeting. She was a part, and she talked with the public saying that I have this problems and I need your support. This is what she talked with them. And she tried to see, I need to climb the steps. She want to show them because how difficult it is. And she started, she got down from the wheelchair and she started climbing she started climbing the stairs. And he took this, because of her, the ADA was passed. Because the legislator, this came on TV, all reports, press report, everything. And it was the talk of the town. And it taken to the legislators, and the ADA passed in later years. So this was the story she shared with my students today. And after she completed, she said to ask them to draw a comic book, 3-4 comic strips. This is what the activity she did with my class today. And the students really loved it, enjoyed the class. And they talk about that she even asked to ask them to put a multiple choice kind of question, which they stands talk about the rights. It has the legal rights, talking about the voting. They talk about the access, and 4 options were there. 4 questions were there, and students choose the right answers, what they think. So it was a nice thing, and it is coincidentally came about the rights of the people, rights of the students, and it starts from the younger days, standing up for themselves, fighting for a cause. And we are almost towards the last pieces of our slides. All right, so moving forward, we know that we have the district, the rehabilitation programs are in progress, work in progress. So we are looking forward to that. And they have a comprehensive rehabilitation services to the rural disabled, right at their doorstep. So they want to make it accessible to all the people. So they are starting the rehabilitation services based on the district rehabilitation center scheme, which is in the year 1995, still work in progress. This started in the 11 different districts of 10 states, and now it is might have increased. And as I said, the services provide in their scheme includes prevention and early detection, medical intervention, surgical correction, fitment of artificial limbs, therapeutic services, training, job placement, etc., etc., etc. These are all they started providing. But what we are looking forward, it should reach more and more and more people. That is where we are looking forward. It has to spread in all the areas in India, all the rural places in India, where because the people with disabilities are everywhere in the nook and corner. There is not like populated in one place. So it has to be decentralized. Okay, so this one, Rehabilitation Council of India Act, the council initiated the process of developing training programs for human resource, considering the needs of the professionals at different levels. So they started working with the professional. They need more professional people coming into this field. So they start B.Ed centers in many places. When I was learning, I was taking B.Ed in Kerala. There was only one where it is. There were only 2 places where you can take B.Ed in special education at that time. But now the numbers increase. It shows that it is coming up. It is spreading. Now we have more centers where you can take B.Ed, be a professional in the special ed area, in the special education field. Then came the National Institute, regional centers, and other apex institutes are conducting 90 programs. The NGOs are offering many programs, and many NGOs are working in this field. Because when I was doing last one session with connecting with the regional regional center in Calicut, one NGO, I got connected with one of the NGO. So he was sharing with me like what they all do, and he shared that the programs they do with the wheelchairs, and we had a connect talking about how to move forward, what small things can be done in our peripheral, like, those asides, like, whichever we can do, the small, when if every professional do small things, that becomes the big event. Just like we learned that each drop of water makes the ocean. So in the same way, what we can do as a professional, even though it is for one student, if whoever, there are 200, more than 200 teachers here, if all 200 teachers do something for one student in your classroom, that is a big event. That is goes in 200 homes. So this is how it spread. This is how it becomes a mega event. This is how the changes come. This is where the rights are coming to practice. Otherwise, it's just stay on the paper. And these all, the institute, the regional centers, and the NGOs are working for it. So we can be a productive partners with them to move forward. And they have the IEDC launched to do some of the work, because the same scheme has the IEDC plan. So the IEDC is doing some programs for the disability, for working with the children with disabilities. So there is a tremendous need for decentralization of rehabilitation services to the district level. Only local communities know their potential, and without their cooperation, no rehabilitation program can sustain. I hope you agree with me on this point, because the thing about the people who pass the legislatures is in Delhi. But when we think about the people who live in a rural area, we need to think about that same law taken to the village level, the local communities, because the village people know more things about each houses, what is happening in each home, where do they need to help. They know better than the Delhi people, basically. I'm putting some example, that's it. So that's all this work need to be completely decentralized. Needs to be all the rehabilitation services need to be decentralized to the village level, to the local communities, so that it can spread to more people, and the more deserving people will get these services. Otherwise, it is going to be a failure. It is not going to work, because very the heart of something is coming from the village, right? When we think about the services, it has to reach in nook and corner of every place, and only that is possible by decentralizing the services. Then there is a need of networks and linkages for dissemination of knowledge, skills, manpower, development strategies, technology from global level to village level communities. So even the people, the professionals need to be out in local villages to make the parent aware of their rights, of the student rights. You need to call for the parent meeting in schools to talk about the rights of the students, so that when they come out of this building, your building, they know about their rights in the society. They know what they need to fight for. Otherwise, they don't know what they are looking for, they don't know what they have, they can have. So we need to come out from we need to call, we need to let the parents know. If they are not aware, we need to call for the meeting. We need to call for the train. We need to train them in the school, or in a public place or something, camps. All these way we can sensitize the community, the small local community about the rights of the students with disabilities. You can, and the parents. So that becomes the we can think about that as a motto for, okay, this is the next step forward. This is what we acquire so far. We made it this far. What to go for? What is next? Put it in the agenda in the PTO meetings. Put it there and talk about it. And definitely, I can say that the parents will be loud to hear this, because it is end of the day, it is about them. It is about their child, and we are a part of their life. So we are sharing something, our knowledge. That is why dissemination of knowledge, whatever we know, just share with them. Make them equipped, educate them so that they can prepare from home. We do from school and they can do from home. And I want to show one flyer which we do. Okay, this is a program, we have it for the vocational services. School to work transition. They start in 9th grade when they go to high school. Because my 8th graders and 7th graders got these flyers from that person who came from the district. It is a 1-year job training at a motel. They have 10 weeks of internship rotations, 5 hours of on-job training each day, and 1.5 hours each day of classroom instruction in job preparation skills. And intern gain experience in a variety of settings, including maintenance, banquet, food services, kitchen, laundry, housekeeping. They do that. They started 2 years back. And so many children with disabilities they have taken, depends on their work as an intern. So this program, they call it as Project Search. This is what they call it for. And this is for they do for gain employability and independent living skill, have an opportunity for employment at the training site or other businesses in the community, receive follow-along services from the Department of Disabilities and Special Needs. And this is one of the programs we have it in our district. And another program we do have is this. This is a 3-year program. This is also about a job training. First year, the students will begin to learn self-advocacy skills, how to apply them in the workplace, and explore career through field studies and independent career studies. And in the year 2, the students will seek opportunities for job shadowing experience in a focused career path identified in year 1 and build on pre-employment transition skills. And year 3, student will learn a skill or trade from an employer for a limited amount of hours during the school day. This all happens in the school day. Once they come out of 12th grade, they will be employed. So these are the 4 skills they focus on: independent living skill, social skill, employability skill. This is what our vocational, so this is the right of rehabilitation. They have the right to rehabilitate. They have the right for employment, and we are preparing them to get an employment. So through the vocational VR services. All right, so I am done at this point. And any questions? Anything to discuss? Question time. Anybody has anything to ask or discuss or anything knowledge to share?
Delegates to ask you questions, or you can even type it in chat box. It doesn't have to be a question. Maybe you can share your thoughts. Delegates, please unmute to speak.
Like how I convey to my students that after the class, I ask the students, do you have any questions? So I said, either you are agreeing everything with me or you are sleeping in the class. So the same way, if you don't have any question, I can take it in a positive way.
Thank you, Miss.
Any thoughts to share, or may not be question, anything to share if you have, because we didn't have a open talk session. So make use of this time to share something which you think are good for the group.
Ma'am, thank you for the wonderful session. Like, out of curiosity, I'm asking you this. You have been working in the US for so many years now. I would like to ask, like, how much about disability are the typical peers in the classroom aware of? Like, is it there in the curriculum? Are the students made aware of disability? Of course, they have classmates who have different needs, right? Special needs. So I would like to know how much aware are the typical peers about disability and their needs. And you have been working in the US for so many years now. So have you noticed a shift in the perspective the typical students have about disability and their needs?
Yes,
over
of course
many
I
years?
did. Because now when I came here, inclusion was not that much prominent here. So the inclusion model helped a lot, because once the students move into the general classes, the students are ready to help them, and they know if they will be in help, the students who can say that, okay, I can share my notes. The students who are, even though they have the adaptations with them, they know, the students are aware that, okay, this student needs more help and coming from a small group setting to this class to learn. So they have the students know, are aware of, even though we have students with autism in the general class, and one of my autistic student cannot take sound, and he gets so annoyed with the disturbance, and he completely freak out. So what we did is, he always wear the headphones, like the big headphones. That's what he wear, and that helped. And he's a nice student. He has social skills, but not really like up to the peer level. But the students know what he likes, what he cannot accept, what he can accept. So the students are around the student, many of the time, not to annoy him, but they know he needs this all the time. And it helps the student, and also the peers accepted him with the headphones. So they sometimes need to say, hey, they need to touch, hey, calling you, somebody calling you, teacher calling you. So they know that. So that is good to see.
Nice.
When he come back to my classroom, he tells me, this is what we did, because through him, I know his peers, because I don't know sometimes what is happening in the other class. But through him, I know. So he shares that his experience, what happens. Some days he comes like totally sad, and he shares that emotions. So I feel like he grew a lot in these 2 years. He's a seventh grader. I got him in sixth grade. So
Ma'am, I would like to know whether disability awareness is part of their curriculum in any way, because we have heard about this American curriculum, which is very sophisticated and very inclusive. So I would like to know whether disability awareness is a part of the general education curriculum or something.
it is not a curriculum, it is in their living. For example, I can say that um, uh, in what I observe after coming here, the labeling part is more prominent in India. Okay, what I meant is, think about a student with multiple disabilities taking in a wheelchair to a public place. The people look at him twice as like, oh, he here? Like that. But because I noticed when I was there, right now I don't know, I'm saying what I have seen there. It might have changed and I would love to see that change. But
it hasn't changed so much.
No, yeah, but what I see here is from the younger days, even in elementary school, they see the multiple disabilities in the school. So in kindergarten or first grade, they know, okay, in this particular class or this class or in my class, the students are act different. They don't know that they have disabled, but they know that this person has unique needs, not like me. So it is in their daily living. So when the child grows up day by day, the child has automatically get more awareness than others, like, who doesn't have an exploration about all these going around. So that is a big difference.
Wow, and is it the same with the teachers too? Like, are the general teachers equally aware of, the different needs? Are they equally disabled? Awareness is equally, there in the general teachers, because even when you speak about India, especially in Kerala,
I will not say equally. We have an upper hand. That's why I said when we have the IEP meeting, we explain in detail each time. And they need to be there in the meeting, mandated. Doesn't matter if I'm called if I call them for a meeting, it is mandated for them to attend the meeting. Otherwise, they are answerable.
Ma'am, I meant like when I talk about Indian scenario, especially in Kerala, the general teachers are not so aware. Maybe the trend has changed for the better sometimes, but they're not so aware of, okay, my child has a different need. He can learn, but learn differently. The general teachers are not so aware and not so accepting, and most of the time the special educated teacher has to do a tug of war for meeting
I know,
the rights of the child or the needs of the child. So is that kind of a tug of war happening in the US, or is it much lenient, more easy?
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about, because I was working in maybe more than 6-7 years in India as I was a resource teacher. And what we used to do as a team, each year, beginning in each year, we used to conduct 3 times an orientation class for the teachers to be aware of what are the needs of the students. And I was in a CBSE school. So in CBSE school, the resource, they just started, the resource rooms have just started. So I was in the beginning of that era, I was working there. So we used to conduct that beginning, middle, and end every year to sensitize the teachers, 1 class for teachers, 1 class for parents. And we used to give flyers for the parents and also the teachers. And for the teachers, we used to give them that time. I didn't do any IEPs in India. We didn't do any IEPs in India, but the students who has the adaptations, we used to write down and give it to the teachers to be those are the needs they need to be in the classroom. And we used to do that. We used to give that in the meeting. So everybody gets that paper along with the class. So they ask questions and we deliver and we put something interactive to make them aware about that. But here we don't need to do those. But they are not that aware as us, but every day, every time, whenever we have the situations, we make them involved in that situation because they are also the students' teachers.
True.
So if they cannot handle, they call us and say that, can I send this person to your classroom or do I get your help? So I go to their classroom. If it is not handled by them. So because we know little bit we are having an upper hand in handling our students more than them. And we cannot complain about them because they have a bigger 20-25 students in the classroom and they cannot spend that much time on one student. But they try because they need to document what they try. So when they come out of that, they call and we go to help.
I hope things change for the better, ma'am.
I do. I'm eagerly waiting for that one. Yeah, each time when I come India, I used to have some classes in some school. So I always say this. I want to see that small changes, that makes a lot of differences.
Yes, let's be the change, man. Let's be the change. Dear delegates, are there any more questions? Okay, ma'am, before we end the session, can we all pose for a group photo? All the delegates, please switch on your video cameras and give us a smile. All delegates, please switch on your video cameras.
And I see a hand on Sister Anjana. Do you have any question, Sister Anjana, or do you want to share something?
Sister Anjana, you may unmute to speak. If you have something to say, you may unmute.
In a language is not a problem. Like if you have, we are talking about the barrier, no barrier. Talk in whatever language you are comfortable with. Be open. It's not a problem.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
Atyavisham, I know. Malayalam, I know very well. Tamil is okay. Hindi is okay. So I can address. So be free. So it's not, we are not judging anybody. It's a common platform. So.
Is there any more questions, delegates? Okay. Thank you so much, ma'am. We are so happy to have you on board. More than the information you have shared, the experience you bring with you, that is mind-blowing, and we would like to connect with you again in the future. Thank you so much for your time, your effort. Thanks for sharing your wisdom. Thank you so much, ma'am, and hope to see you again.
Okay, thank you so much. And I would like to thank this giving Sneha Sadan to give me this opportunity, and I enjoyed the session.
So did we. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much. Have a good day, ma'am. Good night. Have a good night.
Bye-bye.
Okay, bye. Dear delegates, with that, we come to the end of the first session of the 3 days international webinar on social security and legal aspects in disability rehabilitation, organized and conducted by Sneha Sadan College of Special Education, Angamaly, in organization with Rehabilitation Council of India. So dear delegates, now we are adjourning for the break. You may all rejoin the meeting at 1 p.m. IST for the next session on psychological well-being of the abused by Father Toby Joseph. So you may leave the meeting now and join back at 1 p.m. IST. Before you leave, dear delegates, please make sure to send back the filled Google evaluation forms before 1 p.m. IST. Thank you.
മാസ്ക് ഒക്കെ ഇട്ടിട്ട് അവര് പുറത്ത് കാണാണ്ടേ. ഇത് കൊണ്ട് ചാർജിൽ വെക്കട്ടെ കേട്ടോ.
Power off. Device.
I think so. Ramsigan? അല്ലേ? രാമന്റെ തോപ്പൻ. മുണ്ട് പഠിച്ച തോപ്പം കഴിച്ച് ദഹിച്ചിട്ടേ ഇല്ല. വളരെ എന്താ തുടങ്ങാത്ത നോക്കാൻ തുടങ്ങിയാൽ Oh my God. ഇന്നും ഉണ്ട് മഴ തോന്നുന്നുണ്ട് കേട്ടോ. വൈകുന്നേരത്തെ കാര്യം മറക്കില്ലടാ. മറക്കുവോ? ഞാൻ സ്കൂളിന്റെ മെയിൽ എന്താണ് നിങ്ങളുടെ മെയിൽ ഐ ഡി? അതിലേക്ക് അയക്കാൻ നാളെ കേട്ടാ. ഇപ്പൊ എത്ര പോയിന്റ് ആയി രാജ? എത്രയായിട്ടുള്ളൂ? അയ്യോ അന്നത്തെ പോയിന്റ് ഇൻട്രസ്റ്റ് അറിയില്ല അത് നാഷണൽ വെബിനാർ ഇന്റർനാഷണൽ അല്ല ഇന്നാളത്തെ ഇന്റർനാഷണലും കൂടെ അറ്റൻഡ് ചെയ്താൽ നല്ലോണം കിട്ടിയിട്ടുണ്ടാവുകയെ പക്ഷെ അത് 3000 അല്ലേ ഇത് 1500 പൈസ മാറ്റുണ്ട് എന്താ ചെയ്യാത്തത് എത്ര മീറ്റർ കാണാനൊക്കെ എത്ര പാർട്ടിസിപ്പന്റ് 110 ആയിട്ട്
Good afternoon, Father. Father, am I audible? Father, am I audible? Father, can you hear me? Father, can you hear me?
Hello.
Father, can you hear me? Am I audible?
Yes, you're audible.
Good afternoon, Father.
That's
So, dear delegates, I'm so much delighted to welcome the speaker for this session on psychological well-being of the abused, Dr. Father Toby Joseph, Director, Atmamitra Center for Guidance and Counseling of Students. Atmamitra is a Kerala Dispute Initiative working in Samiksha campus at Kaladi. Dr. Father Toby is a psychotherapist, successful NLP practitioner, teacher, motivational speaker, and a renowned trainer and an author who is established inside and outside the country. He is a man of vision and action who has guided many lives from darkness to light, from death to life. He has also served as the vocation promoter, Kerala Jesuit Province, and also as the zonal advisor, Ernakulam. He is also the vice principal at Loyola School, Trivandrum. Moreover, he is dedicated philanthropist and a promoter of religious harmony. With much delight, I invite Dr. Father Toby Joseph to take over the session. Good afternoon, Father, and welcome to the webinar.
Thank you. A very good afternoon to all of you.
Good
I
afternoon, Father.
I hope I am audible.
Yes, Father, you're audible.
Now, the topic given to me is the psychological well-being of the abused. Speaking to special educators and people who are well-versed in the field of special education, I think I have to clarify my position. I am not a person who is very much in tune with special education, in the sense I have only had limited opportunity to interact with special schools, teachers in special schools, differently abled children, etc. My experience is largely with students who are not special in that way, but very specially among them, victims of sexual abuse. It is from that portfolio that I would be speaking to this August gathering. And I want to clarify certain points while presenting this topic to you. First of all, dealing with the word abuse. We are familiar with the word use, and use, we say it is a positive word by which we indicate the purpose of something. We use an umbrella to safeguard us from the sun or from the rain. We are speaking about a use, a positive use, which will address the purpose of the thing. We also speak about misuse. When we speak about misuse, we are speaking about use out of place. And in the third category, we will speak about the word abuse, where we are speaking about a person who is used away from the purpose of that person. By abuse, we should understand that a person is demeaned, belittled, is taken away from a person's human dignity. Now, to clarify it further, I will have to speak about different types of abuses. First, I will speak about physical abuse. When I say physical abuse, I am indicating causing or inflicting pain on the body of a person. Inflicting pain on the body of a person. So you are causing wounds or hurts or pains on the body of a person. We call it physical abuse. Corporal punishments will come under the field of physical abuse. Parents punishing children will come under physical abuse. Beating, hitting, punching, beating with the duster, beating with the wooden scale, pinching the child, all these will come under physical abuse. Just for a layman's understanding, I would say even the parents can be taken to the law because they physically abused their own children. The old English saying goes like this: spare the rod and spoil the child. You keep the stick away, you spoil the child. That was the old maxim. Now, with our understanding of human dignity, going for further improvements, we speak about dealing with children gently and firmly, using non-directive method. And we will speak about keeping away from corporal punishments. All corporal punishments, for that matter, will come under physical abuse. A second type of abuse I will speak about: verbal abuse. By verbal abuse, we mean we cause hurt in a person by usage of words, by calling bad names, by belittling his or her family, using words, by belittling his or her parents, by using words, etc. So scolding, accusing, using abusive words, all this will come under verbal abuse. Shouting is verbal abuse. Going one step further, we will go into the third category. In the third category, we will speak about psychological abuse. Abuse that can cause discomfort or pain for the mind of a person. We call it psychological abuse. A fourth category would be digital abuse. Taking nude pictures and blackmailing a person with the nude pictures taken. Or taking some content from the social networking sites and then blackmailing a person with that will be called digital abuse. These are examples of digital abuse. We can speak also about financial abuse. Blackmailing to the effect where the money of a person, wealth of a person is drained off. We call it financial abuse. And finally, coming to the last, but the main thing that we want to deal with in this talk is sexual abuse. Before I explain what is sexual abuse, I want to tell you one thing. These different types of abuses are overlapping with each other. Mean to say, sexual abuse, there could be a verbal component in that. Definitely there could be psychological component in that. There could be a physical component in that. There could be digital and financial component in that. Physical abuse could be psychological, physical abuse. Please, please.
Delegates, please mute your microphones. Please mute your microphones. Please stay muted throughout the session. Sorry for the inconvenience, Father. You may continue. Yes, Father, you may continue. Sorry
Yes,
for the inconvenience.
I just muted the participants.
Yeah, thank you, Father.
When it is time for clarification, they can unmute and speak. Okay.
Sure, Father, sure.
Now, the different types of abuses can be overlapping. Physical abuse, there could be a sexual component. Physical abuse, there could be a psychological component. Now, when I say the word sexual abuse, there could be physical component in that. There could be a psychological component in that. There could be a verbal component in that. There could also be digital and financial components in that. Now, before I go into stating what is sexual abuse, kindly understand the difference between love and abuse. I'll just give you one example. A girl who is not a special child, a very normal child in 5th standard, in a country in GCC, reports to her mother, a big boy in the lift abused me. The girl reports it, and the mother responds to it as if your big brother was showing love to you. Mean to say, she addressed that man, that stranger, as a big brother and said this: he might have showed love to you. My dear brothers and sisters, please understand this. The girl comes to me for counseling at the age of 19 or 20. And what was her problem? Her problem was any person with whom she gets into a relation, she is getting into physical relation. And why is that happening? It is not because the girl was bad, but it was because the abuse got ratified by the mother. The mother, when the abuse was reported by the child, what the mother said is, he might have been showing love to you. So for the girl, any abusive attempt became an expression of love. So she could not say no. Why? The mother ratified it. This is where we should take the caution. So I put a general statement for us to understand abuse from love. This is a golden principle based on which we can distinguish love and abuse. I put it this way: where love ends, abuse begins. I repeat it: where love ends, abuse begins. I will speak about in terms of describing a demonstration that we do on the stage. I keep a girl on a chair on the stage in front of an audience, and I position myself far away from her, and I ask her, do you have any problem? Usually she says, no problem. And I will distract her in very many ways, using humor or other ways. I will distract her from myself, and then I will slowly move towards her without she noticing it. But she will, for sure, she will notice the distance between me and her as decreasing. At one point, a normal girl will startle herself and she will get up from the chair. Maybe she will move away, or she will drag her chair away. Or she will continuously turn towards me to see where I have reached, what I am going to do next. Mean to say, she will continuously show signs of restlessness. When I see that in abundance, I will make the girl stand, put my hand above her head without touching her, and tell to the audience, here is a girl who has got good upbringing. Good upbringing because she knows exactly where love ends and where abuse begins. A normal girl should be able to understand, I would say also a boy, should be able to understand where love ends and where abuse begins. This capability to distinguish between love and abuse will prevent our children from falling into continuous abuse. Why? Most abusers use the garb of love to abuse their victim or to continuously abuse their victim. Now, my dear brothers and sisters, our special focus is on special children who probably, I am not a judge, probably have no or very less of critical intelligence. They are probably not able to distinguish the ramifications of love and abuse. Now, age appropriately or considering their special nature, we should be able to instruct them what is abuse. In smaller classes, we start with the distinction between good touch and bad touch. Good touch given by our significant people. Good touch given to us to take care of us, to communicate love to us, to communicate care to us. A hug given by my father or my mother, my life partner, my brothers, sisters, etc. We consider them as good touches. Whereas we look at bad touch as touch that is demeaning and belittling. That is taking away the human dignity of the person. Where there is no love. Or in other words, I would say, in love, the person receiving it will be at the center. In abuse, the person going through it will be at the periphery. I repeat, in love, the person receiving it will be at the center. In abuse, the person going through it will be at the periphery. I will explain it by using the converse of the theory. If a person is at the center, receiving all support from the group, from the person or people around him or her, we call it love. The person is at the receiving end, is at the benefiting end, is at the privileged end. We call it love and care. Whereas, if the person is at the suffering end, or the abuser is at the center, if the person going through abuse, the person is at the periphery, is at the suffering end, or we can say the abuser is at the center. Now going ahead, moving from good touch and bad touch, we have to move ahead. I have heard lady teachers and religious sisters instructing their girl students with the caption one arm distance. Always be at one arm distance from boys. Now, the presupposition is abuse comes from the boys' side. It need not be correct. Abuse can happen from anybody, boys or girls or even transgender people. Whatever be the gender of the person, the abuse can come, and if a person is thoughtful, is cautious to that extent, the person can probably prevent the possibilities of abuse. The question is, can we make our children, especially our special children, become aware of opportunities of abuse? We cannot use with them very symbolic words. Instead, we should tell them with raw words. We should tell them this is abuse and this is not abuse. I remember a boy who as a small child came to our ashram, and I remember taking him in my arms, taking him around, showing the river bank, etc., etc. The boy was like a very close friend of mine when he came first. They were in the United States. They went back. After 1 or 2 years, when the child came back, the child had grown up a little. And remembering our old friendship, while talking to his elders, I happened to hold the child very close to my body. You know, the child looked at my face and asked me, "Uncle, why are you abusing me?" His question did not mean I was abusing him, but because in the United States, they are given abuse education even at the KG level. The boy was in a position to understand. He was just UKG at that time. The boy was in a better position to understand that probably that type of holding is not permissible, according to what they are taught. Now, the particular cultures will decide the difference between love and abuse. But in India, we are given certain laws and certain regulations by which certain category of acts are considered as abusive acts. I will list a few. Trying to undress a child, trying to touch or caress the private parts of a child, trying to kiss a child, trying to kiss a child on the lips, trying to caress a child inside or outside the dress, showing a child nude pictures, showing a child one's own nudity, masturbating for the child, playing with the child's genitals. All these can come under abusive acts. Even texting such material, we call it sexting today, sex texting. Sending links of nude images or nude videos or pornographic sites. All these are abusive acts. Now, coming to sexual abuse proper, and I want to talk to you on what can be problematic. To normal children, I give the instruction about abuse awareness through 5 rules. This is my way of doing it. I ask them, whatever be their age, I ask them, why do you wear dress? Depending on their level of knowledge, they will answer to cover ourselves, to cover our nakedness, to protect ourselves, and to avoid shame for themselves, etc., etc., etc. Now, whatever be their answer, I add to that. I tell them, if you are using your dress to cover your body, to cover your nakedness, don't allow anybody to undress you or to put their hands into their dress. That is rule number 1. I repeat, if the dress is used to cover one's body, if the dress is used to protect one's body, cover one's nakedness, the person will not allow anybody to undress that person or to put that person's hand into the person's dress. Second rule, if the dress is used to cover one's privacy, we need not and we should not allow anybody to intrude into our privacy. Rule 3, if the dress is used to cover our sexual organs, our private parts, don't allow anybody to touch or caress or do something else on their private parts or their genital organs, sexual organs. Level 4, they will not allow anybody to force their hands to play with their genitals or to do something on their body. Even that is sexual abuse. And rule number 5, an expression of the UN specification, the United Nations specification. What is it? Girls in general, I would say it applies to boys as well. Don't allow anybody to touch or hold your breast. I add one thing, to touch or hold the belly part or the sides of the belly, to touch or hold or caress in between their legs, to touch or hold their buttocks. 3 in the front, 1 at the back. Now I tell you, boys or girls, whatever be our religion, right from childhood, we cover our thighs. Whether it is shorts for the boys or skirt for the girls or a frock or any other dress, boys and girls, right from small age, we cover our thighs. If that is the case, remember, don't allow anybody to touch or hold or caress our thighs. Now, what I have told you in terms of 5 rules will amount to me showing this way. What is that? From your shoulders up to your kneecaps, don't allow anybody to touch you. I'm using these physical indications so that from normal children, we can smoothly move to special children. We may not be able to name for them the body parts, etc., or to make them understand. We can simply say, from your shoulder up to your knees, don't allow anybody to touch you. Now, if they are normal boys and girls, I ask them, especially to the girls, I ask them, if I were like a brother to you, I should have told you one more thing. What is that? The 5 rules don't necessarily cover all aspects of abuse awareness. Which part of the body did I miss? And they will, to my pleasure, they will say, if they are really aware, they will say it is the lips. I put it this way. If I ask their parents to kiss them, their parents with their lips may kiss on their cheeks. If I ask their parents to kiss them, they may kiss with their lips on their forehead. On the other hand, if I ask the child to kiss back, they may use their lips to kiss their parents on the cheeks or the forehead. But even the parents, I would tell the children, don't allow them to kiss you with their lips on your lips. Lip to lip kiss is a sexual expression. It is not a love expression. Parents, especially dealing with special children, should not give them kiss on the lips. As their age improves, we don't know, probably their hormones are activated, though they are differently abled, though their intellectual capacity is lesser than what normal children have, they may have their hormones activated. If they get into a pleasure out of that kiss given on the lips, and if they get it also from the abuser, if the child, the special child, if it goes in search of that, we cannot find fault with the child. My dear brothers and sisters, I don't know whether you will take it seriously or not. I don't know how you will take it. I want to challenge a particular attitude that certain people take. I am not pointing my finger at all the parents of special children. I am not pointing my finger at teachers of special children. Instead, certain people keep this type of mindset. I remember a friend of mine speaking about a special child and her parents. When the girl grew up, remember one thing, the parents had only one child, this special child. Both of them were working, and when they go for work, they were afraid their child will be abused by somebody. And when the girl grew up, they had further fears. I will not tell you what. And this friend of mine, who is also a family friend of this family, she tells me, you know, that parents did a great thing for that child. What is that? She said, they took her to the hospital, subjected her to a surgery by which her uterus was removed. My dear brothers and sisters, I don't know how you will take it. Both employed parents, they are living and working for that child alone. And they thought removing her uterus is the way to protect her. Do you know what it amounts to? It amounts to them thinking, even if she gets abused, we have no problem. Even if she gets raped, we have no problem. We have problem only if she gets pregnant. My dear brothers and sisters, if at all we come across such an attitude, I would request you challenge it. If the parents are living for them, for that child, if the parents are working for that child, what will they lose if one of them resigns her job or his job, sits with the child to protect her? With full respect for some very, very dedicated parents who have even received multiple special children into their family. Some have even adopted such children into their family. And giving my honor to all those teachers working in the field, I want to go further. I want to break 3 myths first. One, it is the girls who are getting abused often. False. It is a myth. Boys are abused more. Why, if you ask me, I will say boys are abused more because they are exposed more. If you want statistics, I will put it as out of 100 abuse victims, maybe 35 to 40 are girls, 60 to 65 are boys. Second myth I want to break. Who is the abuser? Familiar people or unfamiliar people? Maybe there are cases where a person, a child is abused by a beggar, by a street vendor, by a stranger, etc., etc. Whereas very many cases, majority of the cases, the abuse happens from familiar people. It could be friends, it could be family friends, it could be relatives, it could be business partners of parents, it could be cousins, it could be uncles and aunties, it could be grandparents, it could be own father and mother, it could be own brother and sister. We have case where even the son abusing the mother. So far in my experience, I have not had or I have not heard cases where the girl abused her father. That alone is left out for me. Otherwise, at least one case I have heard or I have had in front of me as my client. So what I want to tell you very clearly is the abuser could be anybody, familiar or unfamiliar. Only if we take that point of view, we will be on the cautious side to prevent abuse at any cost. Now, moving ahead, I want to give you another insight on abuse. When a person is abused, especially when the abuser is of a very small age, I have heard cases of UKG abuser, a UKG child abusing another in the school, where a girl was found bleeding on the toilet surface. Happened in one of Kerala schools. The principal calls me and reports this. I said, I have nothing to do. I cannot do anything because whatever we do will not click well with the abuser or the abused. They are so young. So please refer the matter to CWC, Child Welfare Committee. Let the governmental authorities come. Let the CWC come into place. Let the DCPU come into place. Let the child line come into place. Let the local police station take charge. The child is so small and the child becoming an abuser. You may wonder at how can such a small child become an abuser? I wonder at the age at which he or she was abused for him or her to become an abuser. I repeat, you may wonder at a UKG boy becoming an abuser. Instead, I wonder at the age at which he was abused for him to become an abuser. Very many cases, I won't say vast majority and so on, if they are not healed of the trauma, if they are not healed of the psychological wound created, the boys and girls, boys it is more, they may turn abusers. So putting it bluntly, I would say today's abused are tomorrow's abusers. Now going ahead to children or special children undergoing abuse. What is that you should know, that you should do first? As a parent or a special educator or as a teacher or as a caretaker, as a mentor, as an administrator, you may come across such a case. It may be reported to you. It may be shared with you by the victim. You may witness such incidents, etc. Now, whatever be the case, this is what I want to tell you. First, give a good listening. Give a good listening. Make the child to speak about it. In the process of speaking, to the extent it is possible for the child may ventilate some of the feelings. That itself, that speaking itself, that sharing itself will become a sort of a release for the child. Now the question is whether we are accessible for the child to speak to us. I had a case recently where the child was afraid to speak to the father and the mother. My dear brothers and sisters, please note this fact. Please note this fact whereby the child is afraid relationships will be broken. Family, friends will be cut off. Their parents will suffer if I report the abuse. Why? My father will quarrel with his friend because the friend has caused abuse, etc., etc. Children respect relationships and friendships. They don't like it being broken. Out of fear of breaking the relationship, out of fear of causing quarrel in the family, our child may not report it. The question to every parent of special children and every special educator would be, will our child, will our student have enough freedom to come to us and to report to us an untoward incident? If the child has such an accessibility, I would say you are a good parent, you are a good teacher. Now, there are parents and there are teachers who will not take the report seriously. You might have felt it, they may say, or you may have misunderstood the person's actions or words or whatever. My dear brothers and sisters, that is the worst thing we can do to a child or a special child. Give them a listening and take their words seriously. For the safety of the child, it is better, and for the safety of humanity, it is better that we take the child seriously. Whatever is reported may have happened. Take it that way. If you give a good listening, the child has already got room for some ventilation, some easing out, some release. Second most important step that we should take is remove any guilt. Kuttabodham. Remove any guilt that may be in the mind of the child. If the child is a normal child, I use these words. Sin, papam, is for the abuser, not for the abused. I repeat, sin is for the abuser, sin is not for the abused. That person has done a miscreant act on you. You are not the culprit. You did not cause it. That person did it on you. So that person should feel bad, not you. Take away the guilt from the child. If you can bring in the religious element, well and good. God will see that as a mistake, not your part. God will probably punish him or her, not you. Take away the guilt and take away the fear from the mind of the child. So first step was allow the child to speak out freely so that some release will happen to the child. Second is remove the guilt from the mind of the child in whatever way possible. Here, the unconditional acceptance of the child will work out. I put it this way. When an abuse victim comes to me, I will hold both the hands. With the fingers, I will hold the person. Child, boy or girl, I will hold that person that way without touching his or her body. And I will tell the child, if after you tell everything, when you reveal everything to me, even if your parents don't accept you, I will accept you. I will love and respect you. It is my experience, this unconditional acceptance helps the person quite a lot to open up further and to remove any guilt that is remaining in the child. I will also use words like, God will not judge you, your religion will not judge you, I will not judge you, then why fear? So any fear or guilt is removed from the child's mind. That is the second step. Third step, I don't know to what extent it is possible for the special child, but for normal children and for adults, the third step is removing the anger from the mind of the child. If the child is aware of what offense is done, if the child is aware what type of a dastardly act is done on the person, if the child is aware how cruel the person was with him or her who was only maybe his daughter's age or son's age, if the child is aware of the cruelty part of it, then we can raise the anger inside the heart of the child. And this is what we do. Through some means of ventilation, we ask the child to release the anger. It could be by beating the pillow, by drumming an imaginary drum, by pushing the wall, by hitting the floor, if it is okay, a velvet floor or a carpet floor, by squeezing a wet bed sheet or a turkey towel, by crying aloud in the bathroom, by keeping the face to the pillow and crying aloud, by writing about it and burning it, by writing about it and crushing the paper, etc., etc., etc. Give some means of ventilating the anger for the child, for the abuse victim. And in the last step, what we should make sure is the child or the adult who has gone through the painful, the traumatic event should be given insights. That means lessons learned from the experience. Special teachers, special educators, and parents of special kids, I request you, what I tell you, please apply it to your own situation, because I am not used to your way of life. I am not in connection with special schools to a great extent. I don't have much lived experience with special children. My experience is very limited. So the fifth step, what I would request is, we will teach them lessons learned from the incident. For example, for a grown-up girl who is a normal girl, I would say, you have learned to protect yourself in the future. You have also learned to protect your kin, your younger sisters, maybe when you are married, your children, from such incidents in the future. Okay, this is never to justify the dastardly act of the abuser. I am not in any way justifying his or her act, but I want to tell you, it is very, very important. The incident should remain in the mind of the child as a lesson learned, as an experience earned. Very, very important. Now, these are the 5 steps I usually use with normal children. Now, I will go one step ahead and say, I told you already, whether the child has accessibility, whether the child feels at ease to come in front of us and share it with us. With normal children, probably my success remains in the fact that I share with them abusive experiences I have gone through in my childhood and even in my adulthood. When I speak of such incidents, the children listening to me feels this man has gone through similar pains. He will understand what I went through, so I will speak to him or her. Our sharing of stories will give them room for them to share their story with us. Moving a step ahead, imagine my child, boy or girl, special or normal, comes to me and tells me I was abused. And imagine it is from a family friend, a person very close to my family. What should I do as a must other than attending to the child? What should I do as a must? I should listen to my child. I should take care of the child's psychological well-being by giving him or her a release, by taking away the guilt from the child, by giving psychological unconditional acceptance to the child, and then helping the child to ventilate the anger and helping the child to learn lessons from the incident. Other than that, one more thing I am supposed to do. And this is an area where very many parents and teachers fail. We hush it up. We try to cover up the whole story, the whole incident. My dear brothers and sisters, it is my earnest request to you, if our child has reported it to us, make it a point to call the abuser personally or over the phone and tell the person, you know, my child has reported it to me. What is the message we are giving to the abuser? My child, don't think that my child is so innocent, he or she cannot understand all these. We are telling the abuser directly on the face, my child will report it to me. Don't ever think that I will not know it and I will not act on it. My child has told me it. And I tell you this for you to know that my child has reported it to me. This will help. However small the act is, maybe even passing a comment or touching, etc., etc. However small the act is, this will be a shock for the abuser. Shock in terms of an understanding the child will not become an easy prey to that person. Understanding the child will confide in his or her parents. Understanding the parents may act and may find fault with me or will resort to the law. Now I am coming to the legal side. By reporting the matter to the abuser, you can put a full stop to what is going to happen through that person. Now, my dear brothers and sisters, the law of the land is very important for us. Whatever be our religion, the law of the land is very, very important to us. According to POCSO Act 2012, we are, whoever we are, whether we are teachers or parents or mentors or caretakers or well-wishers or just witnesses, if we come to know of an abusive incident that happened to a person below the age of 18 or to a vulnerable adult, we can report the matter to concerned authorities. So if the case is of a child below 18, we consider the person as a child. Above 18, we consider the person as major. Below 18, we consider the person as minor or a child. Now, below 18, whether a boy or girl, normal or special, if that person is abused, the law demands that we report the matter to the local police station or the child line of the district. 1098 is a helpline number. 1098 is a helpline number. And third, to the district child welfare committee, CWC of the district. And four, to the DCPU of the district, District Child Protection Unit. I repeat, the four agencies to which we are supposed to report, at least one of them we are supposed to report, we are indebted to report. It is not something that we do as a privilege. Okay, I shall do the reporting. No. We are bound to report it. It is not an option, but an obligation on the part of an Indian citizen. If you have come to know about a POCSO offense, you have to report it and you should have evidence of the report with you. For example, if you have filed a case in the police station, have a copy of it and the receipt you get from the police station. If you have reported it to child line, keep the voice record copy on your phone. If you have reported the matter to CWC by email, keep the email copy with you, preserve it because the court may demand it later on. If you have reported the matter to the DCPU, keep a copy of the case that you have filed and the receipt you get, keep it with you. Okay, so the four agencies to which you can report an abuse case is the local police station, the child line authorities. 1098 is the helpline number. I will text it to you. 1098 is the helpline number. The meaning of the number is 10, 9, 8. It is a countdown. The meaning is, the implied meaning is, before you reach 0, help will reach. Our Indian system is not that fast, but to tell you frankly, I have had cases where a case reported to me, a child on a train moving to Tamil Nadu, committing suicide by jumping out of the train. I reported the case to the child line and I reported the matter when the child was in the train between Kuttipuram and Pattambi. From Pattambi, they could not do anything. But the railway police entered the compartment in Shornur railway station. The child was taken into custody and the child was reached to the parents in the middle of the night at 11:30 in the evening in another district of Kerala. And then the child line official called me and said, "Father, the matter you reported has reached safely back to her parents. The child you reported has reached safely back to her parents." So 1098 will work. And from very many mobile and landline services, it is a free call. The call is not usually charged. Please verify whether it is charged from your mobile service, but whether it is charged or not, you can report matters to 1098. So I told you, the first agency is the local police station. The second agency is Childline, which is represented by the helpline number 1098. It can be called a child in distress helpline number. Child in distress helpline number. Third, you can report to the district child welfare committee. You can browse for the child welfare committee numbers of your district. Keep it with you. Keep it with you. And finally, we have what is called the DCPU, District Child Protection Unit. I will just type out those things for you now. Local police station. That is the first. Second is child line, represented by the helpline number 1098. Third is District Child Welfare Committee. Child Welfare Committee, otherwise called CWC. CWC. And the final agency to which you can report abuse cases is District Child Protection Unit. District Child Protection Unit. Otherwise short formed as DCPU. DCPU. Okay. Now, very, very important. I repeat, it is not an option for us to report the case. It is an obligation bound by the law of the land. Suppose your child approaches me to report the matter to me. He or she came to me seeking counseling, and while taking the briefing of the child, I come to know it is a POCSO case, and if I don't report it, if I try to hush it up, even at the request of the parents, if I try to hush it up, if the authorities come to know about it at any time, I can be put behind bars up to 1 year of imprisonment, up to 10,000 rupees of fine. For a mentor or a teacher or a witness or a parent or an administrator who doesn't report a POCSO case, the punishment may be 1 year of imprisonment, up to 1 year of imprisonment and rupees 10,000 fine. Now, this is what I want to tell you. If that is the type of punishment, a person who has just known the crime, imagine what will be the punishment for the offender. Below 18, they are taken to a care home, an observation home or whatever, earlier called juvenile homes. They will have to continue there till they are 18. Whereas if they are above 18, the person will be put behind bars, may be posted for remand, judicial custody, and after investigation, the court, the POCSO court will punish the person depending on the extent of the crime. Now we have special courts for POCSO cases. They are coming up. A person with an IPS rank should be in charge in every district, they say, for POCSO cases. Fast track courts are coming up. POCSO prosecutors are appointed, etc., etc. Okay? But I want to tell you, with a lot of pain, there is still quite a lot of ignorance in the wider public about POCSO Act. I'll give you one example about a normal child, of course, because I am dealing with normal children. I'm sorry for that shortcoming of mine. One girl and her family reports one such offense to me. Fortunately for me, the girl was already above 18. But the offense took place below 18. If that is the case, only if the child has a complaint, there is a case. Okay, it can come under POCSO, but only if the complaint is there, we need to support it. Below 18, even by 1 hour, 1 day, even by 24 hours, if the boy is a minor, the offender will be punished. Now, some cases where there is sort of a love affair, etc., the parent of the oppressor has come and shouted at me saying, "What is your problem?" Whatever happened, they did it with mutual consent. Mutual consent is for adults. Through mutual consent, if they go into such an offense, the court will not find fault. We have a law for that. Whereas, if one of them is below 18, the person is a minor, the person can be considered a child, it is a POCSO offense, it has to be reported. And no bail till the court decides. Just for understanding the seriousness of the act, I put it this way. Please understand. For a normal crime that takes place in India, our legal system warrants that the government or the prosecution should prove that the person has committed the crime. The prosecution or the government, the state, has to prove the person has committed the crime, the person is the culprit. Whereas in a POCSO case, the person who is accused has to prove that he is not the culprit. ഞാൻ പറയുന്നതിന്റെ ഗൗരവം കിട്ടാൻ വേണ്ടി അത് മാത്രം ഞാൻ മലയാളത്തിൽ പറയുകയാണ്. സാധാരണ ഒരു കുറ്റകൃത്യത്തിന് ഭാരതത്തിലെ ശിക്ഷാ നിയമം അനുസരിച്ച് രാജ്യം, സ്റ്റേറ്റ്, പ്രോസിക്യൂഷൻ കണ്ടുപിടിക്കണം, സ്ഥാപിക്കണം വ്യക്തി കുറ്റം ചെയ്തുവെന്ന്. അതേസമയം പോക്സോ കുറ്റം ചുമത്തപ്പെട്ട ഒരു വ്യക്തി, അയാൾ തെളിയിക്കണം അയാൾ കുറ്റക്കാരനല്ല എന്ന്. Very, very important for us. Now, I want to tell you, put some more light on the cases of special children. Below 18 and a special child, is the offense more or less? Below 18 and the child is a psychiatric patient, the offense is more or less? I want to state it this way. If the person is vulnerable in any way due to being differently abled, being a special child, or due to being psychiatric patient, or due to being handicapped, for example, deaf and dumb, etc., etc., the crime is more. Why? The person is in a position he or she may not report. Okay, helpless, vulnerable, and they cannot defend themselves, etc., etc., etc. Okay, now my topic was the psychological well-being of the abused, and I have attended to the attending of the abuse victims in a special way in between the talk, also giving you light on what is different types of abuses, what are the different types of abuses, and what is sexual abuse in particular. Okay, now I want to tell you, don't ever think that one counseling or one therapy will do all benefit for the child who is abused. Continued support, continued unconditional acceptance, and maybe continued therapy. Don't believe a counselor or a therapist who says, with one session I can get you out of it. Therapy, psychotherapy for persons who are abused, it is very, very important. The wound should be completely removed from inside them. They should be free of that wound. Okay, now special children or psychologically or psychiatrically challenged children or physically handicapped children, they are below 18 and they are vulnerable in very many other ways. Sexual offenses against such children should be and will be met with our law, the law of our land, more grievously, more seriously. Why? The legal system will stand in defense of the innocent, in defense of the helpless. Okay, in its ideality, our legal system will defend and support the minor, the handicapped, the challenged, the differently abled, etc., etc. My dear brothers and sisters, I want to tell you certain things that will avoid abuse at all. One thing, I request you, whatever influence you have on families or individual families, encourage them to have positive love expressions. If the child gets enough of love expressions from within the family, from one's own significant people, his or her needs are met. If he or she gets the same thing from outside, he or she will not frantically go behind that. I put it this way, if the heart of our child is full with the love and support he or she gets from his or her family, there is very less possibility the child will be abused outside. Second thing, the child should have know-how. What is abuse and what is not abuse? Don't speak in figurative terms, in symbolic terms, especially to special children. To special children, you use blunt words. You name the organ. You name the organ. You name the act and speak to them so that they will understand it. They will understand it thoroughly so that they can act based on that. Third thing, I would say, make yourself accessible so that whatever small incident happens, they will come and share it with you. They will come and confide it in you. What more can you expect than your child falling into a difficulty, and that very day, that very hour, or that very minute, the child runs to you and confides in you? That is super. You can act on time. You can act very well in the right direction. With clarity, you can act. Why? Your child has reported the matter immediately to you. 4, I request you, whatever matter your children report to you, don't belittle it. Don't undermine it. Don't underestimate it. It is better for us to believe what your child said is right. Investigate it. And tell the offender, this is the next step, tell the offender that your child has reported it to you, so that your child's abuser will come to know this child will not become easy prey. And this child will confide it in the parents. That fear of being reported will keep the abuser from further abusive actions. I would stop here, and I would love to listen to some of your queries, and I will try to answer if they are in my purview. If I have to clarify any point, I'm ready to do that. Ready to do that based on the time that is available to us. Okay?
Thank you, Father. Dear delegates, delegates may unmute to ask questions or simply share your experience hearing to Father Toby's class or your perspective. We can even have a discussion. Delegates, please unmute to speak.
I am unmuting them. Yes, they can unmute and ask the question. You can ask questions, or you can type out a question, or you can type out a feedback, etc. Do it as you please.
Dear delegates, there is no language barrier. You may feel free to ask any doubts, any questions to Father Toby.
You can ask in English or Malayalam. Even Tamil I can understand little.
We encourage delegates to ask questions. You can simply unmute to ask your questions, or you can type it in the chat box. So, Father, when you were talking about reporting the child abuse cases, what usually happens is that we have concerns about where the child is going to be next, especially when the child is abused by his or her own parents. So, as a person who's working with children, or as a person who constantly deal with children, we come to know a case where the child is abused by his or her own parents, and we are obligated to report to the Child Welfare Authority. So the question is, so the Child Welfare Authority obviously take authority of the child, but but we really don't know what is going to happen to the child next in terms of his or her education, guardianship, and everything in the future. How effective it is going to be, how safe it is going to be, what are the facilities he or she is going to enjoy. We always have that concern. So we have already reported the child is no more under his or her parents. They have gone to some other place, and we really don't know what the child is going to face next. So that concern is there. So,
okay, Child Welfare Committee usually have judicial powers. Okay, about any such incident that happened against children or against special children, etc., below 18, the Child Welfare Committee decides what is best for the child, also taking into interest what facilities there are in the state government purview. They are trying to increase it. Okay. Usually, if the child is found unsafe in one's own home, one's own household, the child has nowhere to go in terms of my home, my household, my parents, etc. In such cases, the government takes the authority, the child is taken to a care home. Okay? And what I can tell you is this. I was sent one child from one such care home. Okay? Ours is not an approved institute, but still I was sent a child from such a care home, making sure that we will arrange for the education of the child. Okay? Please remember, the child was not sent before she was 18. The child was sent after she was 18. We educated the child, or we made arrangements for the education of the child, and we continued that support till her own relatives claimed her back. Not the parents, but her relatives. Her parents were judged as not eligible to support the child. I would refer to the Norwegian case. I don't know whether you remember the case in Norway where an Indian family, the child was, say, taken by the government, accusing the parent of sexual abuse. Reading about it, I found it a bit funny. Probably what happened is hand feeding. Hand feeding, which is a very, very positive symbolism in our culture. Probably, what was offensive was our Indian mothers, while feeding, if the child doesn't eat it, will push the food inside. In that culture, I think that action is a very, very provocative act. Pushing the fingers. Probably that, I don't know really, probably that was taken as an abusive act, and the children were taken into the custody of the government. And remember this, the children were not sent back through the parents. The children were sent back through the uncle and aunt to the motherland, to India. They were Indian children, I think from Andhra Pradesh. Okay, so I think our nation also is taking similar steps. I would say for the time being, our knowledge is till 18, they will be in government secured homes called as care homes or observation homes, girls' cases like Mahilalayas, etc., etc. Whereas above 18, the government or the respective child welfare committees, etc., take action with the help of NGOs like mine to rehabilitate them, to give them sound education, to make them move towards an employment, etc. Okay, any other?
Father. Dear delegates, are there any other questions? You can simply unmute and ask your questions, delegates. Okay.
Father, I have one question.
Yes.
Suppose if a person abuse a disabled child,
Yes.
Is there any severity in the punishment because he is abused a disabled child?
If a disabled child is abused by a disabled child.
Yeah. He abused a disabled child. If one is abused a disabled child, is there any severity in the from the normal punishment?
The question is not yet clear to me. The person abusing a disabled child or disabled child abusing another child?
The person who is abusing a disabled child.
See, the offense is more. I don't know how the court will take it. The offense is more. Why? The person is already a minor and the person is challenged, a person is differently abled, or a person is special, or a person is handicapped. Mean to say, I use that word vulnerable. Okay, the child is also vulnerable because of his or her physical or mental status. There is severity. Whether the punishment will be more severe, I have not gone into the legal ramifications. Why? I deal with up to reporting only.
Okay, okay, Father.
Beyond that, it is the lawyers, the POXO prosecutors, the POXO courts, etc. Of course, the CWC child line, etc. Now, if I don't report such a case, sir, I may know what is the severity.
Okay, okay, okay.
I hope you understood my humor.
Yeah, thank you, Father. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Father. Are there any more questions, dear delegates? Are there any more questions? Okay. I think with that, we come to the end of this session, Father. Father, now we have the closing ceremony. We'll be humbled if you can stay online for maybe another 10 minutes.
Sure, sure.
Thank you so much, Father. Dear delegates, we are moving to the closing ceremony. Please stay online. We at Sneha Sadan is committed to delivering best education for all. A program like this cannot take place overnight. The wheels started rolling days before. On this occasion, where we come to an end of the 3 days international webinar, I cannot end by not remembering the personalities who worked day and night to organize this session. I invite Dr. Sister Jisa Grace, Principal, Sneha Sadan College of Special Education, Angamaly, and Sister Christy Jacob, convener of this webinar, on behalf of all participants. Sister Jisa, are you there?
Yes, I'm here. Thank you, Sahida.
Welcome, Sister, and we would like to know what you have to say at this occasion.
Okay. Good afternoon, honored guests and participants. I'm very happy to know that this webinar is coming to an end. We are almost going to pull down the curtain of this international webinar. I'm very happy to tell that all our participants are eagerly attending each sessions and clarifying their doubts. I am proud to say that we have renowned personalities as resource persons like Father Toby for this international webinar. So I hope all our participants have received immense knowledge and information in social security and legal rights of persons with disability. So you can communicate all these new perspectives to your colleagues and to parents of persons with disability. Once again, I am expressing my sincere gratitude to all the respected resource persons as well as participants for making this international webinar a grand success. Above all, my heartfelt thanks to Almighty God for successfully completing our 10th webinar on this pandemic situation of COVID. My sincere greetings and thanks to all Sneha Sadan family members, especially convener Sister Christy Jacob, Ms. Bobby Wilson, and all my dear faculties, and our MC, Ms. Sahida Muhammad, for your sincere commitment. I would like to express my sincere thanks to all of you. May God bless you. Thank you.
Thank you, sister.
Thank you, sister. Thank you so much for your guidance and your words. Thank you so much, sister. You indeed are the pillar to this program. Thank you so much. So, dear delegates, please stay online. Can we all switch on our video cameras and pose for a photograph? Thank you so much for your guidance. All the participants, please switch on your video cameras. Let's all give a good smile and pose for a photograph. Now I invite Ms. Diana Fernandez, Coordinator of Special Education Department, Choice School, Kochi, to evaluate and share her view on the webinar. Ms. Diana, are you there?
Yes, thank you. Yes, I'm here.
Okay, thank you for being present. You may continue, ma'am.
Thank you. Good afternoon to one and all. I'm here to share my experience about this 3-day international webinar on social security and legal aspect in disability rehabilitation. Let me start by appreciating the efforts of Dr. Sister Gisa Grace, Principal, Sneha Sadan College, Convener Sister Christy, Sister Jofi Maria, DED Coordinator, Bobby Ma'am, HOD of BED College, all the staff members and students of Sneha Sadan College for presenting a well-organized webinar. As a delegate, I was extremely happy that all the sessions, including the inaugural function, adhered to the schedule. The first session by Nikita Ma'am was very informative. She tried to incorporate awareness about concessions and benefits for persons with disabilities and succeeded in doing so in less than 2 hours. The afternoon session by Anthony Sir. His years of experience in the field of social development helped him throw light upon PWD acts and protection of rights for persons with disabilities. The second day started with a session by Mrs. Miley, which gave us insight on rights, funding, and services in US for children with disabilities. She kept the delegates interested by adding videos and pictures to her presentation. On understanding that we might have been overwhelmed by all the theoretical information from the previous session, the next speaker, Dr. Rajiv Thomas, kept his session light and engaging by inspiring us with a success story of how he overcame the hurdles to start Hope Foundation for the Differently Able in Qatar. He encouraged each of us to contribute to the well-being of differently able in our society. The afternoon session by Cyril Sir on UNCRPD helped us to gain information about the convention structure and general principles, and to explain in detail the articles which outline the inherent rights and freedoms of persons with disabilities. Day 3 began with the energetic session on legal rights of persons with disabilities by Srilata Ma'am. She succeeded in making us think through the topic by encouraging us to come up with solutions for the samples she shared. They saved the best for the last by bringing in Father Toby Joseph to educate us on psychological well-being of the abused. There is no better person to enlighten us in this sensitive topic. I extend my sincere gratitude to all the speakers who imparted their knowledge to us through this webinar. Thanking Sneha Sadan College for giving me this opportunity. Have a wonderful evening.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much. This means a lot to us. We have one more delegate evaluating and sharing her view. May I invite Ms. Jittu Susan Varghese, a speech language pathologist. With a master's in audiology and speech language pathology, she holds 10 years of experience working with national and international clients. Ms. Jittu Susan, who has worked with several schools, clinics, and hospitals, is currently the medical director head of the department in Lifeway Rehabilitation Center, Ajmal. Ma'am, thanks for being present. You may take over.
Hi, good afternoon, one and all. And it's been such an honor to be part of this wonderful international webinar. And I would like to thank Sneha Sadan's team for arranging such an interactive and informative session on social security and legal aspects in disability rehabilitation. And a special thanks to our chief guest, Dr. Sabu Thomas, Vice Chancellor, MG University. So your thoughts have truly inspired us, and thank you for your valuable time which you spent with us. And I would like to thank all the resource persons, Dr. Nitika, Mr. Anthony, Mr. Mailing, Ms. Mailing, Dr. Rajiv Thomas, Mr. Cyril Klavin, Mrs. Srilata, Father Toby. They have put a lot of effort and love into making each one of us good students and wonderful human beings. And I would like to thank all the delegates from different corners of the countries. And on behalf of all delegates, I am thanking the Rehabilitation Council of India, Ms. Elizabeth Ma'am, and then Reverend Dr. Father Paul Kaitutungal, Convener Sister Christy Jacob, and Mrs. Bobby Bobby, HOD of Special Education, and our sincere and special thanks to our master brain, the pillar of Sneha Sadan College of Special Education, Principal Dr. Sister Jisa Grace. Thank you, sister, for being such a kind and humble person. And your thoughts and ideas have marked Sneha Sadan College of Special Education more popular in the society. So thank you, sister, for choosing such an amazing topic also. And if I left out any names, I am apologizing. And thank you all, and hoping to see Sneha Sadan team with another wonderful topics. And then I wish you all the very best for your future endeavors. And thank you, one and all. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much. Words like these motivate us in delivering more of such programs. Thank you so much. Dear delegates, now we have the national anthem.
जनगण मन अधिनायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता पंजाब सिंध गुजरात मराठा द्राविड उत्कल गंगा विंध्य हिमाचल यमुना गंगा उज्जल जलधि तरंगा तब शुभ नामे जाहे तब शुभ आशीष माहे गाहे तब जय गाथा जनगण मंगलदायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता जय हे जय हे जय हे जय 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 हे.
Thank you. With that, dear delegates, we have come to an end of our 3 days international webinar. At this moment, we at Sneha Sadan are grateful to each and every one of you for being the best and cooperative participants. We believe that this webinar series proved to be fruitful to you as much as we intended it to be. Every ending is starting for something else. We hope to see you again sometime soon. Thanking each one of you again. Have a good evening.
Thank you.
Thank you. And a little thanks you.